Welcome, welcome. My name is Miss Lynette. My name is Lynette, and I'm here to talk about Abacus and what Abacus is all about. Abacus is a counting tool. That's what this is over here. That's what the counting tool is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a bigger abacus. Here is my abacus, and what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to be counting on the abacus. And so, how do we count? Why do we need it? It's helpful for children to visualize, or just anybody to visualize what the numbers are and how it works. So, I know in school we are given this thing called counting to 100. It's a counting it's a 100s table, right? And this 100s table is a little daunting. I mean, if you really think about it, it's kind of daunting. And so if when we look at these numbers, I mean, as adults, we understand what these numbers are because we've been working with it, we've been taught, we've been like learning and how to, what the numbers mean. But in school, with children, when they get this, abacus, sorry, this 100s tool, it's a little intimidating. But what we can do first is, let's see how we can visualize these numbers on the abacus. Okay, so here I'm going to use this. Yeah, I'm going to use this as my ones place. Why? Well, okay, so one, this is my teacher's abacus, and my teacher's abacus, we can actually signify where our ones location is. Now, the reason why we want to do that is so then we know where we're counting. I can move my marker anywhere. Um, but what we're going to do is we're going to count, and we're going to start from one. And on my teacher's abacus, I can start with one. How do I know that this is counted? This is counted because this beam is what counts, what bead is counted. So all this is one. This lower bead has a value of one. So what we're doing is we're talking about one and how it's a value, and then this beam is what signifies what beads are counted. So when we do two, this two is this two. So we have two and then three and then four. Four, and then notice we have no more beads. Well, this is where the top bead comes in play. The top bead has a value of 5. So when we look, this is 5. And then we have 6, 7, 8, 9. So then what's after 9 is 10. Notice when we do 10, we have a 1 and a 0. So when we write it, we have our 10s and our 1s. So just like on the abacus, we have our 10, we have our 1, and we have our 0. So this is 10. How do I know? Well, remember, we signify that this is my ones column. So if this is my ones column, this will be my tens column. So then we can continue on counting. If you notice, we have 11 here and then 12 here. So we have 11 and then 12. Notice that it says 1 and a 2, just like how we have 1 and 2. And then we have 13. I'm sorry, we have 13. And then we have 14. This is 15, just like this. The 5 bead is always the top bead. The top bead is always has a value of 5. And so we have 5 and then 6. We have 16. So notice just like how we have it in the hundreds table is we have it in on the abacus. So if you notice, we have 16 and this is 16. This is 1 and a 6. That's how I know it's 16. We read the abacus just how we read the numbers when we write it out. If you have any questions, let me know. Go ahead and pop it in, and I will be happy to answer them. So we have 16, right? And then we have 17. And then we have 18. 1 and 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 18. So then 19, 1 and 9. And then 20. Just like how we write here, 20 is a 2 and a 0. We have 2 and a 0. So this is 20. So what we're trying to do is we're also looking at how it's easy to count on. So in school we teach the children how to count on. So the idea is if I take this random number over here, 43, does a child know how to count forward and how to count backwards? So the interesting part about the abacus is we can show it, and it's easy to relate to it. So remember, when we do our numbers, we know that this is 9. So If this is 9, then this will be 9. It's easy to visualize what the numbers are because we have 9 and we have 9. So right here we have 99. Our question is 43. So if we have 43, it's a 4 and it's a 3. So we have 43. Now, when we teach the children how to count on, we can just say, well, we add one more bead, that's 44. And they just need to remember the fundamentals. They just need to understand how to read the abacus. And when they understand how to read the abacus, it starts to become more natural for them to start saying, oh, I know what after 44 is 45, because it's a gentle reminder that this is 45. So then they know when we add one more, this is 46. And we go to the next number, it is 47. We go to the next number, it is 48. So that's the idea for Abacus. It's interesting to see that it's a gentle reminder for the children what the quantity is. So it's the same thing as counting backwards. We take away one, and that's the other thing is on the Abacus we actually teach adding and subtracting at the same time, whereas in school children are taught to subtract later on in the second half of kindergarten. That was an interesting thing that I heard. And so it was kind of like strange because when we show on the abacus, why is it strange? Because when we are teaching abacus, when I am teaching abacus, we show how we add it and we subtract. And we're still counting backwards, right? So we're counting backwards. We know what this is. We know this is 46. And then this is 45. And then after that is 44. So then going back to the subtraction comment, it was, we take away one. The idea of taking away one is already part of abacus. And I thought that was really neat. So when we add and when we subtract, it's easy to see, and the concept is there because we're taking it away from this beam. This beam is what tells us what the counted beads are. And that's what that is. Abacus helps visualize where we are. And that was the interesting part about like understanding, what happens in school and how it relate and how abacus can relate to school. So when we visualize, it's easy to see that we have this number. Anybody know what this number is? It's 61. How do I know? Because it's 6 and a 1. So when we look, just like how we write it, it's 6 and a 1. 61. It's interesting to see. So then when I want to take away one, if I want to count backwards, I just take away that bead and that gives me 60. So it's easy for the children to relate what the numbers are. And I think it's kind of cool because um, abacus actually using the abacus actually grows with the child because we can do multiplication and division on the abacus after we do counting and understanding how to read the numbers. We continue on, we do adding and subtracting, and then after adding and subtracting we go into multiplication and division, just like how we go in regular school. So in school, but in school it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Whereas in Abacus, there's an actual framework of teaching children how to add and subtract. So here is an additions table. Here is my additions table. So in school, we do 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, and then we do 1 plus 4, which is easy. But in Abacus, if you notice, there's this color here that is one set of formulas. We call it formulas, but really it's just a one set of concept. So then the green is considered simple, and then this is all the green that's considered simple. The pink right here is considered another thing, which is interesting because that is the 5 frame. This is where we start talking about the 5 frame. In school, we teach children what the 5 frame is. 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. 1 plus 4 is equal to 5. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, and 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. But Abacus takes it one step further, takes it to solidify the information, the concept of what the 5 frame is. So in having that, it's quite interesting because we take it one step further and we make it more, instead of making it as a working memory, we're actually making it into long-term memory. So when they start understanding the fundamental idea of what the five frame is, which is this part here, and it's everywhere. So when you start going into like bigger numbers, you could still utilize this fundamental concept. So this is the five frame. This is the pink area is the five frame, right? Three plus three, three. Instead of learning our doubles, and we can go on into that. Instead of learning our doubles, we actually utilize and do what the three is. What is the three? When we want to add the three, what does that mean? And I'll go into that in a little bit later. So then, after that, after learning the five frame, we go into learning the 10 frame. In school, we teach the children what the 10 frame is. And what does that mean? Well, how do you make a 10? Well, making a 10 is 9 plus 1, and then 2 plus 8, and so forth, like 3 plus 7. But we actually utilize the concept of the 10 frame on Abacus because we utilize the next column over. And I'll go into that as well. So this is just an idea and a foundation of understanding how this all works. And then this color, this area here that's blank, that's not highlighted white. This is actually when we mix the two. We mix the 10 frame and the 5 frame together, and that's how the structure of the class. So when we start, I actually have this book that I created that talks first about um, understanding what the beads are, recognizing what the beads are, and so we first starts understanding how do we recognize what the beads look like. So the way I have it broken up is in lesson one, we only learn from 0 to 4. And these are activities, right? These are activities to get the kids to kind of learn and understand. There's a little bit of tracing, and then this one is like find the abacus kind of a thing, and then this is like find the symbol, and then here is that's so it goes from 0 to 4 here, and then we start doing activities. These activities is supposed to engage the children to have a fun way of doing things, so they can actually for this one here, follow the path. They can do any color they like, but they would just have to find what the abacus number is. So this one is already worked out because I've already have this. This is I do offer an online class. It's self-paced and all the classes are pre-recorded. Let me know if you're interested. Pop it into the comment. Um, this is also yeah, it's an online class. It's an online abacus class, and you get all of the worksheets to go with it. So all these worksheets are available to you, or you can buy the book. The book is available on Amazon. Yeah, it's a heavy book, but it's also in color. It's a fair amount. This one is talking about numbers from 0 to 9. Why? Because I didn't want to explain the place value for young children just yet. So I stayed with the concept of 0 to 9. We actually have to know what zero is. Why? Because that's how we clean the abacus, right? The abacus is nice and clear, and we can actually start on a new question. So starting from zero on the abacus is actually quite crucial. In school, we start teaching the kids to start from one, which is really interesting. But if you notice, if we start from one, it's because they don't say here is a blank piece of paper, right? Let's start working. And I thought that was interesting. We actually start off from zero, but teachers don't say this is zero. There's nothing here. So, anyways, so I thought that was really interesting. All right, let's see. So that's counting from zero. So that's what we do, and that's what this book starts with. This book actually starts from zero, and then it goes into 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's activities at towards the end, and then there is a color by number. Then we have lesson two, which is talking about 5 to 9. Well, what does that mean? Well, on the abacus, if you look, we start from 5 and we go all the way to 9 because we're combining these two beads. We're combining the top bead with the bottom bead. And so I systematically created this I framework I systematically created my workbook to follow how the numbers are being used. We talk about specific numbers and how the specific numbers are used. We don't talk about the result. this is understanding what the 5 is, and we're doing again how to count on to 5. So the idea here is to count to 5, and then this is counting to 6. And if I don't have enough beads to count to 6, how do I count on to 6? So this was more of like understanding how to take a number and count. So this one here is 3. How do I know? Because I have 1, 2, 3 beads. So if I have 3 beads here, what makes it to 6? So so this one is, well, how I need to count on to 6. So if they can read the abacus, they can just give me the dots to make it to 6. So I have counting 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we go all the way to 9, and then from here we talk about um the items. Then we have, and then I have them trace the number, and then we have it to find the abacus. What does the abacus look like? And this is like abacus driven. And then we have our pixel art, and our with our pixel art again we have our color key, and then with our color key um, we have our numbers. So this is also number recognition, getting the kids to understand what the numbers look like and how it relates to the abacus. And again, more activities. So that's what this is. And then after lesson 2 is lesson 3. Lesson 3 is about counting forward, which is like super easy. But then we have lesson 4, which is counting backwards. And it's easy to show how to count backwards when the kids start understanding how the numbers look, and they're able to subtract, right? They're able to visualize and see what the number is, like this, right? Oh yeah, that's 5. And then, oh, that's 6. So it's easy to count backwards. So if I have 5, they'll know that this will be 4. And then we start counting backwards to 3, 2, and then 1. So counting backwards is the concept of counting backwards is easy to show on the abacus. It's a difficult concept if we just tell them to use the hundred table and just count backwards, because really it's just pointing the number and understanding that this symbol means the next number. Whereas on the abacus, we show that the quantity and we take away the 1, or we show what the number is and we take away the number, right? So counting backwards, and then we count what's between the number. So if you're given the number 8, and the number is in between 8 and 6, what number would that be? So the idea here was to understand what the surrounding numbers is. Why? Because I wanted to emphasize the relationship of the number and how it works. So there's counting, there's what comes in between, and then what comes before and after. So when we have the number like 2, what's before 2 is 1, what is after 2 is 3. So so this one was about the relationship of what's before and after, and then here we talk about what's bigger and smaller. And again, we do greater than and less. I wanted to show the children, the words bigger and smaller and the symbols and how to write the symbols. I don't use an alligator, the concept of alligators, because I didn't understand it, because I was always confused. But the idea here was put in, if the number is bigger, put in 2 dots. If the number is smaller, put in 1 dot. So then they'll be able to figure out which side the way the column the way the symbol the way the symbol is drawn. So this one is 8, and then this one is 2. Well, which one is bigger? This one is bigger, so it has 2, it gets the 2 dots. Whereas this one is the smaller one, it gets the 1 dot. And then here we have, oh, this is where we start counting. This is where we start adding. Now, the way I have oh, this is what I was talking about. The way I have it is we actually talk about what adding 1 looks like. Why do we do that? Because it's the process of adding the 1 bead. So the 1 bead, we have our 1, we have 0, right? The question is 0, and then we add 1. So our answer is 1. In the book, that's the next column over. That's the not column. This is the next pages over. So here we have +2, and then we start working what the 2 looks like. Oh, we have one, and then we add the two beads. So adding these two beads is what we're trying to show. I'm trying to show that what we do when we add two beads. So if the question is two, and then we add these two, that's what it is. We're adding only the two beads. It doesn't matter if it's these two beads, or these two beads, or these two beads. That's what we're doing, is we're adding two beads. So that was what we're trying to do here, because I wanted to show the process of getting the number, not necessarily the result. So what I was talking about earlier was I saw this one video about teaching children how to add, and they were really focusing on the result. What does that mean? So if I had the question 3 plus 5 on our abacus, if I have 5 plus 3, my answer is 8. So my answer is 8. Then the next question was 6 plus 2. I was like, okay, I could do 6 plus 2. How does 6 plus 2 look like on the abacus? So we have 6 and then plus 2. But notice, like, now we're just kind of adding just to add. So we have 8. Notice there was this result and this result is the same. So it was kind of interesting on how they were result driven and not process driven. So the next question was 4 plus 4. I was like, now we actually have to work in uh, the abacus. We don't learn our doubles. On the abacus, we actually learn what the concept is. What does that mean? Well, what we do is we actually focus in on this add-in numbers. These are the numbers we focus on. What does it do to get to the next, to get to the answer? That's what abacus does. Whereas in they focus in on regular school math. They focus in on the result, right? So we know we have to memorize that 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. Okay, but notice it's all kind of jumbled. What does that mean on the abacus? Well, now we have to start going into what we call a formula. So this formula is 4, and then we want to add another 4. We don't learn our doubles. What we do is we learn how to add a 4 on the abacus. We remember the process to get to there. So if I have a 4 and I want to add another 4, notice there's not enough beads to add a 4. So what do? I actually have to utilize this 5. Now, this is where the 5 frame comes into play. So if I have my 5 frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I have my 5 frame and I want to add 4, so I add my 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our To make a 5, and this is where the 5 frame comes in, I want to do 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. Now that's great. That's fantastic. But how does that work with the abacus? Well, notice if I want to add the 4, I'm going to rearrange this. I want to add the 4. That's what the equation is. But notice that 4 and 5 it's not equal. So how do I make them equal? I have to actually take away the 1, which is the same here. What does that mean? Well, what I want to do is, since I don't have any more beads to add the 4, what's another way to do it? So this is where abacus is the gateway to more complex math. I should just get that out. Complex math. Um, Now what we're doing is we are isolating the variable, which is an algebraic term. What did we just do? I just took this number 4 and I isolated it. I'm going to be using some really big math terminologies here. So here we're taking the 5, we add the 5, and we take away, and we have to take away the 4. That is how we utilize the abacus, because we're going to isolate the variable. My variable that we're using is the 4. So this 4 is what tells me that I need to add the 5 and take away the 1. This is also a number pattern. So we have our number patterns. So there's a lot of things going on here, but really it adds to all of this. Like, it's as adults, these are big concepts, right? But when children view it, it's just it is that's the way it is. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that happen here. One, we're isolating variable. What else are we doing? We're also rearranging and substituting, right? So this is also substitution. Substitution. So we're also substituting. Um, so what we're doing here is we're trying to we're not trying to, we're utilizing another way to add a four, which is kind of like thinking out of the box, right? So it also provides creativity because the question is there enough beads? No, there's not enough beads. We're going to take it one step further and we're going to add this five, but we need to take away the one because it's too many beads. The value is too much. So what we just did is we just isolated the variable. Yeah. So we don't think about the result driven. We're not result driven. We're actually process driven. So in Abacus, we're process driven. So let's take this question one step further. The question is 3, and then we want to add the 4. Now, if you notice, we've already understand what the 4 is, right? To do the 4, all we have to do is add the 5 and take away the 1. See how there's a pattern there? I'm adding a 4. If I don't have enough beads, all I have to do is add the 1. All I have to do is add the 5 and take away the 1. Our answer is 7, right? Now, let's take it one step further. Well, let's say 2. 2 plus 4. Well, notice there's not enough beats to add the 4. So what do? Well, we now see how this is more versatile because now we have this idea, we have this concept. If I want to add the 4, I need to plus the 5 minus the 1. So instead of learning our doubles and then doubles minus 1, right? So the question was, right? The question was, is 2 plus 4, right? So instead of learning our doubles, which is 2 plus 2, that's only 4, and then I have to add another 2 because of this, or it's 4 plus 4 minus 2. You could learn your doubles. It's a little cumbersome. Or what we could do is we could just understand the element, right? The process, which is plus the 4 is equal to plus the 5 minus 1. So when we learn that, we can utilize this 4 anywhere. So what does that look like? Well, we have 2 and then plus the 5 minus 1. And that's it. That's like understanding the fundamental elements, the building blocks of Abacus. So that's why Abacus is really kind of cool. So visualizing. So that a lot of this is visualizing and understanding how to work the beads. It's not just counting, it's also adding and subtracting and manipulating the beads, maneuvering, working through the beads. So going back to the book, we actually talk about specific numbers so they know how to use it. Once they understand how to use the beads, right, as for what they are, then we can go on to understanding what the next lesson is, which is the plus 5. And that's what I did is after adding and subtracting simply on the abacus, which means that there's no need to use formulas, no need to be worried that there's not enough beads. So here, notice how in one lesson we do the plus, we have the plus 4. Then the next lesson we actually do a minus. This minus is relationship, right? If you add it, you can subtract it. If you subtract it, you can add it. So that was the idea. They're both, it's a balance that in Abacus we're teaching. Whereas in school, you learn everything how to add for the first part of kindergarten, which is a really long time if you think about it. And then the second part of kindergarten is you minus. Whereas in Abacus, we actually show, once you learn how to add it, we show you how to subtract it. So here, what does it mean by finger down? Well, we just want to take away and we want to use our finger. we kind of stress in Abacus like the finger movements and what fingers to use because it's muscle memory. After the kids are start understanding how to use the Abacus, and after it goes into their long-term memory, they'll understand how to use their fingers, and it becomes muscle memory. Just like they say, just like, running, right? If you're active when you're young, and you become stagnant when you're older, when you get back into running, it becomes muscle memory, right? Your muscles remember what it is to move. Same thing with the Abacus and how to use it, right? If we keep using this thumb to add and then this finger to subtract, right? They After a while it becomes muscle memory. And that's what that is, muscle memory. Like riding a bike. My kids, they all finished the Abacus curriculum. And it's been a while, but they may not know how to they may not if you give them an Abacus, they'll be able to manipulate and get the answer. So because they just remember how to move the beads. And it's just kind of like it's innate to them now because they just remember. Okay, so after learning the minus ones, they go to minus two, right? And then minus three. And then here again, it's to show the concept of taking away only the three beads. It doesn't matter if it's these three beads or if it's these three beads. And then notice when we add the if we have the five, if we add the five, right? And the question is nine take away three, it's still these three beads, right? If I had eight and take away three beads, it's still these three beads. So that's the overview of this Abacus book. And so after this book, the kids are ready for this one, which is a plus five. And this is when we start talking about the five frame. All right. When we talk about the five frame, I try to make it I try to make the explanation so you can read it. If the questions don't if the explanation doesn't make sense, I do have an online class. They're all pre-recorded videos. And so what it is I go through each page in the lesson. When we're talking about the five frame, I'm using cats in a tree. But I also show it as a five frame. And with the five frame, I wanted to show how it relates to the Abacus. So the first thing we have to understand is how does the five frame work, right? If I color in one bead, how many beads are left? There are four. I'm sorry, how many squares are left? There are four squares left. If there's two squares, then three squares are not colored. So that was the idea here, is to understand how to make a five. So once we figure out how to make a five, and it doesn't matter how they do it, right? This is the activity. And then I also added in word problems so we can teach the children how to read the words. And then we have the number bonds. The number bonds is to help, show the relationship. Depending on, it doesn't even matter how the orientation is. So showing this is to show the flexibility that the numbers can actually be anywhere, in any order, as long as it makes sense and they're balanced. And again, this is like talking about, if I only have three cats here, how many cats do I need to make a five? And then it goes into talking about how to add a four. So this is what we were talking about in the beginning, where the question was result driven, but now what we're doing in Abacus is we're doing process driven. So that's what here is. When I want to add a four, this is how I do it. So if I add the four, I have to plus the five, take away the one. So the explanation is here. And if it doesn't make sense, you can go ahead. I do have an online class to explain more about this. And then, and I explain it to the kids, right? Because it's the kids taking the class. But this is for adults, for, parents and grandparents and caretakers and teachers who are interested in learning how to use the Abacus in their everyday, teaching children how to use the Abacus. So that's what this book is. This book is it's full of activities and activities, really. The idea here is to understand the fundamentals, like how to utilize the two, and then we go into like color by number. So I have a color by number, and then I have a maze, and here they have to answer the maze, and then whatever the answer is, that's the path that they go. This was a good exercise for the kids, an activity. And then I have more word problems and the hidden word. So again, what the hidden word is, you have to find what the answer is, and then whatever the answer is, put it down here. So that's what that is. And I still have color by number, and then this one was connect the boxes. So it's like, connect the dots, but instead it's connect the box, because after each number is the answer, right? So if we start here, you follow the arrow. So if I do 2 plus 3, the answer is 5, and then from 5, is to here, which is plus the 4, so that's 9. So that's what connecting the boxes are. And then here, there's a tic-tac-toe. And this is all specific to adding 5. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll answer them in the comments or the next video or the next office hour that I have. So again, what else? So that's what this is. And I also have answer sheets. Oh, this one was a cool one, which was spin the wheel of the 5 frame. But then we start talking that in the uh, 10 frame. Okay. So, yeah. And then there's the answers. So that's what this book is. So then that's the progression. And then after this is, so we talked about that. We talked about that. And then we're actually here. So we're talking about the 10 frame. And then in the 10 frame, we talk about like, how do you move the beads? Right. And it's the same concept, but now it's just a different way of doing things. So we need to remember that 8 and 2 equals to 10, or 2 and 8 is equal to 10. And then I have picture puzzles. I have puzzles. So there's the board, and you have to answer the questions and then find the answers in the puzzle pieces. Again, there's the hidden word. I think the hidden word is a pretty good one, as well as mazes. I still have mazes. And so it's still same concept, but then it's like, okay, whatever this number is, what's the path? And I think the kids really like it. The kids really like it, and it's kind of engaging. And then there's answers, and I have answers for all the pages that have it. Yep. So that is the plus 10 with who. And then I do have I do have a coloring book if anybody is interested. So this coloring book was interesting because it's really simple, one, but it's also adding like how to read the abacus. So this, in the page, and I actually started working on my own coloring book, which is kind of cool. And then I started getting a little bit creative. And it was interesting because after a while you'll be like, oh, I could do this, or I could do, straight lines and so forth. And then this one was trying to figure out how to do just the 2 colors and circles. So you can be really creative. This one is just trying to be monotone. This is only, the green. I tried to use a stencil, but that didn't work so well. And then I try to use, I guess it's called paintbrush markers. That didn't work so well. That was okay, whatever. And then I try to do kind of geometric. Is it geometric? Yeah. And then my son did this one. He got lazy. He got kind of tired. But it's like it's a work in progress. And so this is my coloring book. Obviously this is for you to, for to spark creativity to figure out what you want to do. And then this was trying to doodle the coloring book. And then I have more doodling. Excuse me. This one was about the plants and the leaves. And this was a pattern. And then, I didn't do that. So the coloring book it goes all the way to 100. I mean, it goes to 100, but after 30, it starts to go by tens. 10, oh, sorry, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 to 100. And that's it. That is my coloring book. So that's the coloring book. And then what else do I have? Oh, then I have like the Halloween counting, which is cool. But since we're not in Halloween, and I don't know when you're viewing this, but I do have a Halloween one and I do have a Christmas one. The difference between the Halloween one and the Christmas one is adding and subtracting and the numbers. So in Halloween, I go from 0 to 10. If you only want to focus on 0 to 10 on the abacus, and then the counting Christmas is 0 to 20, but there's also adding and subtracting involved. And then I'm working on my next book, which is the Lily's Number Garden. That one is a story about how to utilize how to add to 5. That's a story that I'm still trying to figure out and work on. So that's what I got. All right. So if there's any questions, let me know. I am here and I'm available. I'm going to have office hour again next week. Every Wednesday, I will be talking about Abacus and what Abacus is, why Abacus is great. Abacus is the gateway to more complex math. I do like that. Okay. So continuing on, I still have a little bit left. I do have a present. If you are interested, I have created an Abacus calculator, not calculator, an Abacus calendar for 2025. So I'm dating this live. Just so you know, I'm dating this live. And if you're interested, it will be available in the show notes, or it will be available, or my link in my bio, wherever you're viewing this. It should be my link in the bio. And what it is, it's the Abacus calendar of 2025. So right now we're in February, and what it is the calendar. So I have it where every number has an abacus to it, if you could see that. Right. And right now we're in February. So along with it comes with questions just to help out, like prompting questions. If you to ask the children, like, what is it today, what is it tomorrow, what is it, what day was yesterday, and then can you find today's date. So these are prompt questions to help parents and teachers to ask kids like how to read the calendar. So when we go back like this, right? The idea was to have the children color in the counted beads. Now I have two sets. One is the regular abacus, which can be a little bit overwhelming for some of the kids, and then I have a simplified abacus. So you're going to get two sets depending on how old or how young the children are, right? So if it's easy for them to see the two with the like an actual regular abacus, because if you notice when I say two, I still have these beads here and this bead here. That's what this looks like, right? If it's too much, if this is too much to see, I do have it simplified where it just shows what two means. So that's the abacus month calendar. I do have it in quarters, so you'll have a full year in quarters, and there's two of them. One is the simplified. This is the simplified one, and then there is the regular abacus, and that is available. The link is in my bio. It should be there. If not, let me know and I'll put it in the comment. Um, and so that's what this is. So that's what I have. So that's a little freebie for you, a little gift if you're interested to continue on to understanding. This was to show the versatility of abacus, really. So I was adding it to the calendar. And then it also practices, like, if you notice for here, we talk about this is now we're starting to do two place values. We have the ones and we have the tens, just like how we write it. That's about it. I mean, if there's any questions, let me know. But yeah, this is available. I believe it'll be a link in my bio. If not, I'll send it over. And I'm going to leave off with, let me know in the comment what number you think this is. And that's what I'm going to leave with. Let me know what you think this number is in the comment. This is my ones, this is my tens, and this is my hundreds. And thank you again for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be back next week.